Alright guys, welcome back. Holy crap, has there been a lot happening since you last joined me. So today is September 11th, and yesterday the world went to shit for a while. So let's talk about it while I get ready for therapy, and I need it. I have done my skin prep, so let's go ahead and moisturize, and then I'll get priming. So, as you all know by now, yesterday, right-wing Christian nationalist Charlie Kirk passed, and I'm gonna have to do this with as few censored words as possible. I still don't know how much I need to censor, but we'll just go with it. I have a lot of thoughts. I did not like the man, and a lot of people were very quick to jump on and talk about how if you celebrated death, you were celebrating pew-pew violence, and that's a crock of shit. Let's just be real. You can be happy, for lack of a better word, that someone is no longer out there and able to poison the minds of our youth, to radicalize them, to teach them to hate others without celebrating the method in which they passed. I do not condone acting on your own and deciding to be the judge, jury, and executioner of anybody. The way in which he died was entirely unacceptable. Even though his wife should not have been supporting him, as far as I'm concerned. Anybody who willingly decides to support somebody like that is not somebody that I would ever be friends with. She is grieving right now. She now has to go through life without a partner, somebody that she chose to have children with, and that's awful. As much as she's going to have support, she's also going to be dealing with people that are going to be absolutely awful to her. She probably has had to beef up security, and she is going to have to explain to her children what happened, and I don't know if she's going to be able to do that. So I have absolute sympathy for her. My heart breaks for her. So we can absolutely saddened and horrified by the method in which it happened. We can have sympathy, and our hearts can go out to the family, the survivors, and understand that what happened should never have happened, right? It should not have happened in that method. Violence in that method should never happen. Political violence, violent protest in that manner should never happen. We can all acknowledge that. At the same time, though, we are complex human beings. We can understand that he was a man who incited violence. He was a man who would have said that person, whoever it is, as far as I understand, the person who did shoot him has not been caught, and we don't know if they will, because the person who did that clearly had skill. Charlie Kirk, would have supported that person's right to own that gun, because presumably this person has training. They would have had a license. They would have passed background checks. This person probably has military elite training, right? So he would have said that this person should by all rights have had a gun, probably multiple, right? And he would have said, and had said multiple times, that victims of gun violence are just casualties of the fight to protect the Second Amendment. But I think the worst part of all of this is that as this was happening, as the news was unfolding, there was other news that should have been given top priority, and that was that students were injured in Colorado at Evergreen High School, at another campus, not a college where people had chosen to gather to debate, to argue opinions that were dangerous, that were basically fundraisers to take away rights from people. No, those students were there in Colorado to learn, to better themselves. They were there mandatorily, right? And they have a suspect. At the time I'm reporting this, my last bit of information was that they believe they had a suspect who was injured. One of the students that was injured was there, right? Required to be there. And it was yet another 47, as I'm recording this, another school where violence was had, and those students should have been at the top of the news cycle. And you know what? Charlie Kirk probably would have been on social media sending out messages of how those students who thankfully did not pass, their injuries were not critical at the time of filming, were just more casualties. They were martyrs, for lack of a better word, that again, they did not pass for the cause. Just more headlines so that he could use them as more evidence as to why perhaps teachers should be armed, why citizens should be armed, why there should be more guns out in public. And I use the word, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to edit that. Children, innocent children, who more than likely were attacked by a classmate, their peers, another student who was probably radicalized by someone like Charlie, someone who put out his opinions, right? People were immediately pointing out that Charlie didn't deserve this because all he did was state his opinions, and opinions don't hurt people. So he should never have gone out that way. And while I agree, we should not act with violence against people, their argument was that he should not have had violence enacted against him because he never enacted violence against others. And that's bullshit. He did. His opinions were out there to raise money to hurt people. His opinions were out there to radicalize others to hurt people. His opinions were out there to reach students, like the student who hurt his or her peers, because the evidence shows that overwhelmingly mass shooters are not the people that Charlie is going after. They aren't the mentally ill. They aren't the members of the LGBT. They are not even members of minority populations in the US. They're not. And I'll go ahead and use his argument, because one of the last arguments, as far as I understand, I may be incorrect here, so somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it was one of the last things he said or if it was one of the last appearances. I may be confusing myself now. I might have just, maybe it was one of the last things I saw, so don't quote me here. But let's just say it was one of the last things I read. Okay, let's just say it that way. I had seen a quote from Charlie where he was saying, somebody had asked who was most likely to become a mass shooter. And he said, are we counting violence or not? That tells you everything you need to know about the man right there. Because the answer, of course, whether you want to count it or not, and there is no real, if you look up mass shooting, you'll realize that there is not a definition that is, you're not going to find a dictionary definition. Each group that does record keeping kind of has their own. So I have seen where it's a mass shooting that does not have another criminal aspect to it. So gang violence would not be counted. More than 4 people, including 1 or more active shooters. So the definition can vary depending on people who are giving the stats. So, but yeah, let's answer that question because he's no longer here to do so. The answer is cis white males. We know that. You didn't need me to answer it for you. It's not transgender people. It's not minorities. Mass shootings, by the most popular definition, perpetrated by white males. So the shooting yesterday, I'm just gonna bleep these words. I'm too tired. I'm too emotionally drained to worry about censoring myself right now. Maybe I'm censoring myself by covering and pushing this mic. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know if this is better. It's my first time trying to use the lav mic. I'm trying not to smush it now that I'm thinking about it. I put it on the opposite side of the little fan here, so hopefully it's better. But yeah, the fact that he stopped to make sure that he was being racist because he knows. Here, I'll give it to him. He was a very intelligent man. He didn't need to do that. He knew, 1, what the person was asking, and 2, what the stats were. Because even though they slightly varied, every definition would have told him what the answer was. So he didn't need to take out the gang violence because gang violence is not included in any of those definitions. So yeah, he was not a good person. And when a bad person is taken out, it's okay to feel a bit of relief. It's okay to feel a little bit of joy. I'll come out and say it. A little bit in the moment of just... Now, is anybody that's a good person deep down going to go dancing on his grave, shouting from the rooftops? No. A good person will take that 1 second and go, oh, gosh, that's sad. Because that good person will take a minute and just go, oh my gosh, he had children, he had a wife. Like, you, for a split second, you want to be happy because you didn't like that person. Everybody has that tiny bit of pettiness. Everybody has that feeling that you want bad things for people that you don't like. I deeply despise our president. If I found out that he had been, I can't even say the words because of the rules of our government, but our president does not seem to be in good health. If he were to pass away peacefully in his sleep and I found out, there would be a moment of that relief, a moment of that small amount of joy, and then I would be deeply concerned for our country. I would feel bad for his children. I would feel bad for his wife. I would be terrified because I do not want JD Vance as a president, but there would be that split moment where I would be happy before the rest of that, just a little bit more there, before the rest of reality sunk in. And that's truthful. And anybody that dislikes these men who says that they wouldn't feel the same is lying. Sorry. They are. Because we're all a little bit petty. We're all a little bit callous. And anybody that pretends that they're perfect little angels who would not be relieved that the influence that he has directly on the next generations of our youth in America is gone, is lying. Now, is his outreach still going to be very strong because of Turning Point? Are the donations going to be flooding in? Absolutely. Is he now going to be a martyr for the cause? Absolutely. Are especially Gen Alpha going to be radicalized? Yes. This is not a good thing. The way that he passed is going to absolutely push these people into action. The far right is going to lose their shit. It's already being seen. And that's something that I'm very worried about. And I'm not joking. Because here's the thing. The people on the left, especially some of my more moderate creators that I follow, they're saying, oh, we need to condemn violence in all forms. We need to make sure that we are not celebrating his death. We need to take the high road. We need to make sure that we are saying the right things here and making sure that we are not promoting any political violence. Meanwhile, the right is saying this is war. He is getting the presidential treatment. He is going to get special funeral rights in DC. I already know it. His death was not announced by the coroner in Utah, the police chief, like any other normal high profile or newsworthy death. No. It was announced by the president of the United States. Pay attention to what's happening here. This is going to be used to pass laws. I 100% predict that there is going to be an executive order about something because of this. Pay attention. The right is going to move, and they are going to move quickly. I would not be surprised that the reason that there was a delay before the announcement of his death was because something was in the works. We all know that he was dead the moment he hit the ground, if not sooner. Why was there a delay? Because they were arranging things. This is not a conspiracy theory. I am not a conspiracy theorist. You can check my social media. I am a cynic, but I am not a conspiracy theorist. You can check my timestamps, everything. Like, I'm outspoken. I probably have put my foot in my mouth a few times, but I am not by any means I'm not even too far left, to be honest with you. I am socially left, but in some ways not far enough. I actually think that people should be allowed to own guns. I grew up with a very Republican father. In fact, my dad and stepmom, are Tea Party Republicans. My dad wore the elephant costume one year at the Sacramento Republican state hoopla meeting one year. I was raised to be very moderate. So there are certain things that I'm probably a little more center than you might think, which I don't know, would probably surprise some people. I do think we should be allowed to own guns, but I do think things should be more highly regulated. I think there should be more checks and balances. I think that there should be more restrictions on who can own them. I think there should be testing and licensing like we do for cars. I think safety courses should be mandated. I think that if there are minors in the house, that there should be home inspections on safes, things of that nature. If you want to own a gun, great. Let's make sure that any other dangerous machine, that you are insured in case of any negligence or accidental harm. Let's make sure that you have demonstrated that you know how to properly and safely use it. Let's make sure that you re-up it every 2 years. Let's make sure that if there are children in the home, they are safe. Let's make sure if there's negligence by anyone in the home, or if they use it in a way that harms somebody else, that you are held responsible for it. Let's make sure that there's mandated reporting if that firearm goes missing. I mean, yes, you are absolutely allowed to have it, but let's make sure that if somebody gets injured because of it, that you are held responsible. Period. It's the same thing if somebody takes your car with, your kid wants to go joyriding and they accidentally hurt somebody, you're the one held responsible. Same thing with a firearm. Period. Dangerous things are something you're allowed to have. I absolutely believe that. But be responsible for them. I don't think that's a radical thing. I don't. Anything that is a tool should be allowed to be owned. I believe firearms are a tool. They are a tool for protection. They are hunting. They are a tool for whatever, right? The military uses them as tools. They're weapons, but they're also used in other ways. Protection, but also the opposite of protection. I want to say aggression, but that's not they're a tool for defense, but they're a tool for offense too. Whatever. So whatever that means. All right. I think I've covered that enough. I think I've got that out of my system well enough, maybe. So let's move on. I talked about this day in other videos before, and I don't want to go into it too deeply, but today is September 11th, and as you know, I was in New York that day. I went to Hofstra University, and I was on Long Island that morning. And so I just want to reiterate that while we talk about violence and discord within our borders, I think it's awful that today our flags are half-mast because of somebody, in my opinion, does not deserve it. Today we should be paying our respects to the lives that were lost in the towers that day and trying to rescue them. Today is for the heroes and for the victims. It's not for Charlie Kirk. Today we should be remembering them. We pledged that we would never forget, and I feel like that was stolen from them today because of him. So I know this is not going to be posted. It's not going to be posted today, but just know that I was thinking of them today. So moving on. This is just to get ready with me, of course, so it's not really anything big. Obviously, I like to get things off my chest while I get ready for therapy so that I can kind of have my thoughts together when I'm talking to Cece. It kind of makes it more efficient, talking to you guys. Obviously you can't talk back, so I kind of have to get my thoughts together, and I really don't want to go into therapy just all angry, I want to use my time with her to help myself. I don't want to give my time away more than I have to somebody who doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve my time. I think another reason that I'm so frustrated with all of the time and coverage that he's getting. I mean, yes, he was a high-profile person because he was the right starling, right? Even though he kind of looked like his face was melted a little bit and a weird grown-up Cabbage Patch Kid. I always thought he looked like a weird Photoshop fail. I don't know. Somebody's probably gonna get a hold of this video and be like, well, you're fat. Okay, cool. But like, one of the first things that happened when the media got a hold of it locally was that they were like, Charlie Kirk was shot. He was just in Visalia last week. As if that was relevant. Like, oh my gosh, he was just here. Isn't that crazy? Okay, do you think like his attacker followed him from Visalia? Is that why it's relevant? Like, and in a way, like, I think it might help a little bit. I've been using it to try and like help people realize that like it's not just, he wasn't just a guy that like shared his opinions. So that's what I keep hearing. He just shares his opinions. Why are you like saying all this stuff about him? Blah blah blah. It's just his opinions. It's just okay. His opinions were the reason that he was invited to Visalia. His opinions were why he headlined an event that was the largest fundraising event for the pro-life group in town. The group that has been around for like 40-something years. An event that was entirely sold out at the mega church in town. I don't know how much tickets cost for the event, but it was a lot. It was like concert tickets, okay? So imagine how much money that event brought in. People were paying concert ticket prices to see this man talk, to share his opinions. Now, that money is going to be used by this group to lobby against women and girls having access to safe abortions in our county. We already lost our Planned Parenthood in town years ago. Our city, county area is amongst the top in the nation in teenage pregnancies. I'm going to give you guys a second to let that sink in. You ready? All right. The event must have brought in thousands of dollars so that the pro-life lobbyists who have already managed to run only access points for information safe, well, not the only, for the largest organization for information and safe access to abortion in the county with the highest rates of teenage pregnancy. Are we getting it? Our girls already live in a red county in a blue state. They're not getting the education that they need because we are, Visalia, least educated town, or least educated city in America. Hi. Keep in mind this is from like NerdWallet. It's not an actual like real matrix of like test scores and shit. They like count how many people who live here have like high school diplomas, not keeping in mind that like people that graduate college like leave. Also remembering that like I had to move back for like medical reasons. Okay. I grew up here, but then I like left for college. Would have stayed there, but I had to move back to my family because of medical reasons. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so our girls are already not getting the right education. It's a very conservative town, and the lobby for pro-life side of things is already incredibly well-funded, and Charlie Kirk just brought in thousands of dollars more. These girls do not have access to Planned Parenthood. The closest is over 45 minutes away, and we are a very poor city as far as our lower demographics. And guess what just got cut? Yeah, Medicaid. Put it all together. Think about it. His opinions have more than likely cost people their lives, because when people push to ban abortion, they don't ban abortion. They ban safe abortions. When you ban safe abortions, people die. Highest rates of teen pregnancy, lowest rates of education, and no access. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to keep getting ready because I have places to be here. Anywho, what's going on with y'all? Alright, so you want to know a secret? I got back on Hinge. I finally bit the bullet. Yep, I'm back on Hinge. They didn't have heteroflexible as an option, so I listed as bi-curious. It was the closest I could do. I don't like that term, but it is what it is. And as I was scrolling through, I'm being very selective. I ran into a guy who I hooked up with several years ago. I don't remember how long exactly, but a lot. And he was actually the first guy I talked to who was in a ethical non-monogamous relationship. And so he had a girlfriend, but she was out of state and he was going to move her down. And we only got together once, but it was the first time I had like really been introduced to like the whole scene, and like had started thinking about like what would that look like? Would I be just dating him, or would I like be dating her too? What were my feelings on that? You know, the whole kind of. And so when I ran across his profile, I was very surprised to see that he was single and looking for a monogamous relationship that like open to whatever might happen. So it was like interesting. We ended up on kind of an awkward like page. He kind of like at the end like claimed that I wasn't his type after we hooked up. And I was like, yeah, bullshit. And then he like ghosted me. But I was like, you know what? I'm in a better place with my mental health. Like this was years ago, and I'm not like in an angry place in my life anymore. Like I'm on different meds. I really feel like I'm a better person. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to send him a message. And I was just like, hey, I know we ended things on like an awkward page, but I just want to like say thank you. Because of you, I kind of figured out who I was and like who I want. And, you know, this last Pride, I came out as heteroflexible. And, you know, like that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for like your whole situation, whatever. And I haven't like logged back into the app since I sent it yesterday, but he probably won't respond, and that's fine. But I was like, you know what? Good for me. Like, I feel like I'm like healing and moving on, so whatever. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, would you have sent a message or just like let it go? I don't really know what I'm doing with this look. I was just kind of feeling like playing around. I don't have a ton of time left. I'm just kind of doing whatever. I'm just going to therapy and then I'm heading out to Costco. So I didn't want to do anything like super crazy. I think I'm just gonna stop at this as far as my eyes. Like, I kept them really basic. I'll do my brows, throw some mascara on, do a little bit on my face as far as blush and contour. I'm still trying to use as few of the brands that I am mad at as possible, but whenever I do, I'm gonna be crossing out the labels just in case they actually get flashed. Just because, like, I'm not gonna be perfect. Like, you heard me as far as, like, using the censored words and stuff. So just to make sure that I don't, like, accidentally screw up, I'm going to cover them. I think that's just going to be easier on me. It just makes it easy and I don't have to think about it. So as I go through, if I have to use a product, I'm just going to be covering it up. And then we're not going to worry about them. It's like they don't exist. And then so I haven't matched with anybody on like a fully romantic side yet on the app. I did find somebody, he's in a poly relationship already. And he seems nice. He's like been funny and like open to like asking questions, but he messaged me because of one of my prompt answers where I'd mentioned that I was new to the whole scene or whatever, and he'd asked me if, you know, I had questions and stuff, and I said that I hadn't really matched anybody yet. And so he's actually been a really nice person, and I had mentioned that I hadn't matched with anybody and I was still really new and I didn't know what was going on. But he's like 7 feet tall, which is like, oh my gosh, because I'm really, like, height's a big turn on for me. Now, you don't have to be super tall. If you are, and you're somebody that I would be interested in anyway, you get extra points. You don't lose points if you're not tall. So it's just like a bonus. It's like extra credit. You're not going to pass if you're, like, you still have to pass on your own merit. You just get extra bonus points. So don't be thinking I'm like one of those girls. But, okay, I think that's going to work. So let's set this before moving on. Okay. Ooh, so I started a Reddit thread about finding alternative affordable brands that hadn't done Harry Potter collabs. And so far, the recommendations for like replacing items that I don't want to feature anymore seem to be NYX and Wet n Wild and possibly Makeup Revolution. I have not done my research. The world kind of went to shit yesterday, as we've discussed. So what are your guys' recommendations? Who do you like? Which brands share your ethics? I did not get a chance to shape and pluck my eyebrows. I'm so sorry. I know they're a mess right now. But again, therapy, Costco, that's it. So I do need to get a new one of these. I'm very close to out anyway, so I'm pretty sure NYX is safe. We did do a quick look at Wet n Wild. They seem to be safe, so let me know. Give me your recommendations. I don't think I'm gonna do, well, actually, no. I have some, I think I'll use my SPF translucent powder to set this afterwards before I get in the car later. I'm just not going to set it right now while I have a chance of sweating. That is not how I put those back. Alright, do a very light mascara. This is Essence. Anybody know if Essence is okay? I have not checked. And then somebody said a lot of Asian brands are usually safe, but Clio is not. So can anybody fact check that? I'm getting mascara all over my lid. I am going to have to clean that up before I go. I have got to go. Goodness. Alright, let's get this on. Alright, gotta rush this. Stay safe. Be kind to yourself. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.